Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we adapt to the story called The Man of Iron by Guy Haley. How has one survived into M40? Friends, let's find out. Two humans argue. They are dubbed Rhine and Rouse. They are playing bone dice. Tech priests have arrived to investigate the enormous robot they live in. They clarify and say it's a Mechanicus ship, so perhaps a Titan? The hangar was crammed with junk. In most places, ditches filled the space completely, a compacted mass of wrecked machines, garbage, old piles, clothes, gewgaws, scrap, and every other conceivable type of human rubbish, held together by webs of cabling that time and motion are bound into impenetrable knots. Ryan goes to the area the robot UR025 calls home. It was sleeping, or the machine equivalent. Its power claw rested delicately on one knee. The cannon had made up its left arm, crossed inward, in the same way a man would rest his injured hand against his chest. A cable ran from an open access panel in the robot's side, snaked down over its knee and into a socket in the floor. The air around it was warm and heavy, with electrical bleed. It did look normal, but it felt different. When it looked at you, it wasn't only processing, there was something else behind that. The machine said it was a semi-autonomous automaton under the control of some Megos or other, able to act with unusual independence owing to its broad programming. Ryan tells the machine someone is here to see it. It was pitched to sound in response like it was enjoying serving the person. It says compliance and goes to visit its guests. The Adeptus Mechanicus party had a robot with them. The designation and specification flickered idly through UR025's cogitation unit, Castellan, a design ancient by human standards. But compared to UR25, it was a shocking novelty. Seeing these dumb, inferior machines saddened UR025. It imagined human explorators felt similarly when they stumbled across deviant evolutionary branches of their own race on distant worlds. Seeing creatures one was akin to physically and mentally reduced was profoundly woeful. It was a slave. The human reaction to these discoveries was immediate extermination. UR025 felt only pity for the Castellan. It showed none of this. It was a machine. Machines had no emotions, not in this benighted age. How may I be of assistance? UR025 boomed. One of the priests scans UR025 whilst the others check who owns it. He confirms the Magos. How may I be of assistance? It asked for good measure, whilst surreptitiously breaking into the closed data traffic streaming between the three adepts. It had to be careful. It was born of higher tech than these so-called priests could command. But they had their wiles, and UR025 was not a dedicated information-gathering unit. Its methods, even it would admit, were a trifle crude. Two of the priests say the machine is not what was described. One says with promise through code, the readings are promising. These rumors were right. This machine is of STC derivation, but fits no known pattern. It is a first-generation copy. These are systems which I cannot identify. I've never seen a robot like this before. And that priest then goes on to say that UR025 is worth a lot and could buy them a higher rank. So basically they don't believe his cover story that he serves this Magos. The exchange took less than a second. It lacked any emotional content, but the Man of Iron extrapolated certain feelings from the strings of zeros and ones. Attributing feelings made reading the human emotions and motivations easier. The conclusion it reached was simple. They have come to steal me. They say he must join their expedition. UR025 says he has already been given an assignment by his Magos. One produced a fake medallion to pull rank. Another says a treaty between the people of the planets has been agreed. The Man of Iron just says, processing. One says they don't trust UR025, and the Castellan shifted. Its fists rose. Both of them terminated in blasters. Primitive and poisonous weapons, but potent, and they were trained on the Man of Iron. By rights, UR025 could stand its ground. The whole affair stank of desperation. If it had to, it could fight them. and it would win. They were aggressors. By the rules of Precipice, UR025 was in the right. Killing them there risked exposure though, so UR025 agrees to go with them. One wants to see its data wafers to improve them. The Malavine says no. What it doesn't say was why UR025 couldn't change its data wafers, the means by which the mindless robots of the day were controlled because it didn't have any. UR025 didn't need anything like that. He agreed to take them to the Blackstone Fortress, but the Malavine had another place in mind. He tells the Mechanicum his ship has a good record of finds within the fortress, and in turn thinks that it had a good record of taking people to places they will not be found again. The Magos made a great show of selecting a sequence, but UR025 knew that when they went into the Blackstone Fortress, it would decide where they went and not the Magos. Within its ceramite shell, UR025 smiled to itself. It and the fortress were creatures of a similar kind, thinking machines abandoned by their creators. It wondered if, like itself, the fortress had outgrown its masters. Its morality was emergent, UR025's was, rather than programmed, like the rest of its consciousness. It had been taught that lying was bad, but since returning to the realms of men, its whole existence was a lie. It reminded itself of the truth every day, lest untruth become habit, the quintessence of which was that it must survive. Lying was a means to that end. It let the matter rest at that. The Blackstone Fortress's heart was quiet, but not calm. It was quiet in the way that a wolf-infested forest is quiet. UR025 examined the metaphor. It had never seen a wolf, however, it knew everything there was to know about them, probably more than was known by mankind. Deep in the dark age of the 41st millennium, its databanks were extensive, such treasures it had in mind. It would rather they stayed there. Soon after, they explored the halls of the Blackstone Fortress. UR025 led them on. If only they knew where the real danger was. The passage opened up again. Xenos skeletons lay inside, on the ground in tattered spacesuits. Coleman scanned them eagerly, sucking up all the data he could. To the Magi, the aliens were unknown. UR025 recognized them as Ulindi, a moderately successful species, if tedious conversationalists, who were wiped out by their neighbors long before the Imperium spread across the stars to reunite mankind. Knowing so much and being unable to share it annoyed the robot sometimes. The charade of unintelligence chafed, and it was often lonely because of it, but playing dumb was better than being dead. They hear movement to this little group and form up for protection. They waited, and intensity grew. UR025 watched them. Now was the moment. The three tech priests jumped as UR025's assault cannon rotated up to firing speed, filling the tunnel with a jet turbine whine. It targeted the Castellan first. Pinpoints hit, stove in the bigger robot's metal vision plate and shattered the sensorium behind. The countershot only staggered UR025. It disabled the weapons and knocked it over a railing into the water below, where it did not re-emerge. It takes out then each of the tech priests, and after doing each, it says target eliminated. With almost the last dying, UR025 explains that the Magos knows nothing of the machine god or the Omnissiah. This is triggered when the priest mentions this and says that UR025 is a blasphemy. UR claims he has met the Omnissiah, who would be disappointed with the priest, perhaps some leader of the Men of Iron, we can speculate. And he goes on to say he had chosen to kill them. I'm not a machine, as you would understand, says UR025. I am not a slave. I am not a thing. I am beyond and above you. It leaned forward until its ceramite face was close to the Magos. I am a man of iron. The look of pure fear 890321 gave was gratifying. And I am free, says UR025. It crushed 890's skull in its fist and dropped his corpse on the floor. The companionway rocked. Snuffling things were clambering out of the water. Drawn by the scent of spilled blood, UR025 had chosen this place well. He strode past the Urgles nosing at the corpses and headed back the way the party had come. It would be a long walk home. And that, friends, is where we end this adaptation. I do enjoy the portrayal here of UR025, how he is kind of pretty human, in the way that he's portrayed, obviously that means he's pretty advanced, especially when compared to the, let's say, basic robots that are employed by the tech priests and the mechanicum. And on that little bit of speculation is where I'll end the video. So now I'll turn things over to you. Comment down below. Are you intrigued by this portrayal of the Men of Iron? Would you like to see them as a faction within the lore? And there's obviously the factions that are sold by GW. Or are you happy for them to remain background? How much do you want to know about these Men of Iron and the other mysteries in 40k? Are you happy with the hints? Would you like something more concrete? Comment down below.